Good morning. We've got another podcast today, and this time it's with Dr. Julie Prescott, who is a reader of psychology at the University of Bolton. Good morning. How are you today? It's nice to see that you're in an office. Everyone we've talked to has been sat at home in these strange times, and yet you're back at work.
I'm back in. It's nice to be back in and seeing people again.
Oh, definitely. I think that's what I've missed, is that interaction with people. Just walking down to get a coffee.
We've just come back from a coffee, actually. So I'm raring to go.
Fabulous. Well, thank you for agreeing to talk to me today. So as you know, what I'm doing is I'm speaking to different academics about their academic journey. So it's just a really wide open question, and just to ask you how your academic journey's been, thinking about what right back at the high school stage.
Well, I enjoyed school. I love school. And I think for me, I never had plans to go to university. My peers didn't go to university. Well, my parents, my brother, my cousins, nobody went to university. So it wasn't something I was thinking of doing. And I basically went to college. I did well in the GCSEs. I got good GCSEs. I just could do them. I tried a bit, but wasn't particularly studious, but I just passed everything and ended up at college. And then I was inspired by a particular teacher. She was actually my sociology A-level teacher, and she basically told me to apply for university. And like I say, nobody else I knew had ever been to university. It wasn't something I'd planned.
What was it that inspired you about her? What was it?
Well, it wasn't really inspired. It was more told me to fill in the UCAS form. But it didn't. It was like it was just she just knew I could do it. I did well in my A-levels as well without really trying particularly hard. And I do remember one of my tutors at A-level. He would talk about university and about some of the good times he had, and I just thought actually it does sound all right. And I wanted to leave home. I went to college at 16 to 18. For those 2 years, so a traditional kind of route, if you like, just straight from school, then went to college, and yeah, no, they just kind of got me a bit more interested in it. And my mates who I hung around with at that time, none of them went to university, but luckily I got in, and then so as I was just saying, I was 18 on the 14th of August, and I went to uni in the September. So
how did you find that? That's a big change.
It was good. I loved university. University is probably my most favourite period of my life. I've had some, I have enjoyed my life. I still am enjoying my life. But university is a very special time. Very, very fond memories of university. Partly because I was 18, and I made some really good friends. So I went to University of Teesside. So I moved to Middlesbrough, which is about 3 hours from where I live. And yeah, no, it was great. Like I said, just made some really good friends who a lot of them I'm still friends with now.
What did you study?
Psychology. It was actually psychology with sociology, because I was there with the two main A-levels that I enjoyed when I did my A-levels, psychology and sociology. I think I preferred sociology at A-level, but I ended up doing better at psychology. So I thought, right, okay.
I'm interested in that.
Psychology and sociology, but it was majored in psychology. It was BPS accredited, so it just had a little bit of the sociology. And then obviously I went down the psychology route. And I wasn't particularly studious. I was enjoying being away from home and hanging out with mates. And the student union was really good at Teesside. It had a good bar downstairs and a really good indie nightclub. And it was 94 when indie music was just great. So what else was I going to say then? Oh yeah, and it wasn't until about my third year that I proper got into the uni work, where I really started to enjoy it. I loved the research methods. I really started to enjoy the learning aspect of university. And so then I decided I wanted to do a master's.
Oh, had you? So how did you find the actual study then? What was it about the third year that made you the fact that it's nearly over and you've got to pull yourself?
I don't know. It could have been, but I don't know. It was like, so after the first year was very much like my A levels. So I didn't feel like I was learning much. I wasn't very engaged. I was doing a bit, just hanging out with mates and stuff. And I knew it didn't count towards my degree. Yeah. Then the second year I was getting into it a bit more, but the third year, I don't know, it's just something clicked in my brain, and I started to really enjoy the study and really enjoying what I was learning, which I hadn't really appreciated before. I don't think I'd appreciated before in any point in my life. It was the third year of my degree where I proper cracked down and just thought I really, really enjoy this. And then I decided I wanted to do a master's. But when I was in my third, or at some point in my degree, I don't know exactly when, started getting interested in the gender difference kind of thing. And so gender became something that I started to enjoy reading around and writing about. I was finding that if I had a choice, because we had a lot of choice with our essays, which was hard, but we weren't given, a lot of the time, weren't given essay titles. We were told to kind of pick our own essay titles, which is really challenging. And I was going down a more gendered route. Not all the time, but a lot of the time with our modules, we were told we could pick, just think of a topic or pick one of the ones that was always really hard was, and it sticks out in my memory, we had to go and get 2 journal articles and compare and contrast them, and this is the time we had to go to the basement of a library to find a journal and then photocopy it, and it was a bit of a laborious job. Anyhow, so what was saying? So I got into it. So I decided I wanted to do a master's. So I wanted to do a master's in women's studies. So I applied for a master's in women's studies. But I did take a year out because I'd left it too late to apply. So
sorry, I missed that bit. You did what? You took a year out?
I took a year out. So I had a year out between my undergraduate and my master's. So I did my master's in women's studies at the University of Lancaster, just because I was interested in that kind of area.
What did you do in your year out?
In my year out, I worked as a care assistant, and then I went and did a Camp America.
Oh wow, how amazing!
It's called Camp Jened, and there's a program on Netflix actually about Camp Jened, because it was the first kind. It was revolutionary in disability. It was a disability camp. It was a cerebral palsy camp, and I loved my time on camp as well. That was a good time.
Yeah, but that's some great memories.
So I did that. Then I came back, and the camp was in upstate New York, and I came back and did my master's for a year at Lancaster.
Is that how long it was? 1 year?
Yeah.
How did you find that? What was the difference between an undergraduate degree and then a master's?
Oh, that's interesting to say that, because I found the difference between GCSE to A level quite a big jump, because I don't know what A levels are like now, but A levels then were just one. You did 2-year A levels, then you just had one exam at the end for the whole 2 years. There was no coursework; it was just the exam. So that was quite hard, because it was kind of learning up 2 years worth of work and putting it into one exam. So there was quite a lot of pressure on that. So that was a big jump in terms of studying. And again, the degree, I didn't find any real major leaps in study, but I did from undergraduate to masters. I found there was a big leap, because it is very independent. So there was a lot of reading. You had to do a lot of reading before you went into class. It was all on your own back, really. And because it either the subject I was being taught, or the university's way they did masters, which I kind of do as well now, was very much you go away, do the reading and the studying, and we come back and discuss it as academics. It's not a lecture, you're not being spoon-fed information. You need to understand it, and I'll help you kind of process it and critique it, because it was feminist theory, so it's very critical. It's critical analysis kind of topic. So,
and do you think that's important, that difference? Do you think there needs to be a bit of a leap when it comes to masters from undergraduate?
I don't know, but it was a big. I remember it being a big leap to me. It was a big, because it was a different way of being taught and different way of learning, wasn't it? It was discussion based, and often I remember we'd sit in the lecturers' offices and discuss it. We weren't even in the classroom a lot of the time. We'd go in. I was in 1 day a week, and we'd go in and often just sat in like lecturers' offices and talking about stuff. But it was a really good way of learning. It was a really good way of learning and processing what you've read and understanding what you've read.
I know when I've done like more my undergraduate degree, but being sort of front facing and just listening to information, it doesn't really cement it to me. What's really helped is that conversation afterwards, whether it's with your peers or having the opportunity to speak to lecturers or workshops. That's what's always got it in my head, like almost putting that theory that you've learned into a practical situation. That's how I've kind of been able to see it.
So when I was doing undergraduate, it was very much lecture for an hour, and this is like acetates, and one lecturer used to just read from his textbook, so he didn't absorb it at all, and he mumbled quite a lot. I remember like he mumbled a lot, so we didn't engage. But then you go to the seminar and we talk about it and try and put it into some context, which was good. But the masters was just you reading and then going and discussing, and I don't know, it was very different learning to what I had done previously, but it was good. I enjoyed it. And I think it gives you some good independence to, you have to go and do it. Otherwise, there was no point going. You couldn't go to a session if you hadn't read. And there was a lot of material, a lot of time you had to read.
Yeah.
But there was no point going to a session if you hadn't read it.
Yeah, of course. How come you chose Lancaster?
Well, I went to interview down in, I remember going for an interview in Southampton. I'm trying to think where else I applied for. I went for an interview in Southampton, but I think it was a long way. I actually lived at home at the time. And travelled to Lancaster, so I think that was this basically deciding factor. I lived at home. Otherwise, I remember going for an interview at Southampton. I got in at Southampton, but I'd have had to move out. I just didn't have the money then.
Yeah.
I got paid to do my undergraduate. Labour government used to pay for you to do your undergraduate. I got paid. All my fees got paid, and because my mum and dad didn't work, we were in a high income family. I got a grant to live as well, so I think I got about £6,000 a year, which was a lot.
What's that like?
That was great. That's why I didn't go into class that often. No, it was good. It was good, and it gave me that independence. Whereas when I was doing my postgraduate, my masters, there wasn't any funding, so I had to pay for it myself. And my grandma died when I was at university. She left me £5,000, so I paid for my masters out of that £5,000. I'm good with money. I paid with my masters out of that £5,000, and then after my masters, I went travelling with the rest of the money as well. So I'm quite good with money. Get a lot out of my money. So that £5,000 did me well. So I went to Australia. Oh, you froze, Lyndsey. So yeah, so I just never wanted to work basically. So I've always studied or travelled, and now I've got to work. I'm old.
So when you were thinking about sort of school, high school, and going on to university, what did you want to be when you grew up? Did you have anything?
I didn't want to be anything. I didn't know what I wanted to be. When I was younger, like proper younger, I wanted to be a police officer. But I grew out of that. Although I did end up working with the police, you know that. I did end up being a researcher for the police, which again I did enjoy. But I didn't want to be, and they wanted me to become a police officer. They thought I had what it took, but I didn't think I wanted to be a police officer by then, so I didn't go down that route. But at school I didn't know. I remember when I left university, I kind of sat down and thought, what can I do? What are the skills that I've got? What do I enjoy? And it was research, so I went down the research route. That was what was coming out. I did my masters, and then I went down the research route.
That's what
I think I did some work. I worked as a researcher for a little while. I can't remember now. No, I finished my masters in '98 and I went travelling in 2000. So I worked for a couple of years. So I did save up a bit because you have to have quite a lot of money in your bank account to go to Australia. I don't know if you still do. And obviously you've got to pay for your flight and need money to. I think just to show that you're not going to, I don't know, do anything. You've got to have money in your bank account, or you did. And also a return flight was one of the conditions you have to go to Australia on a working visa thing, or a backpacker visa, whatever it's called. So I worked as a researcher. I decided I enjoyed the research. That was the skills that I felt that I gained the most from the university, my university time. So I became a researcher. And
how long did you travel for?
I travelled for a year and a half.
Where was the best place you went?
I don't know. Again, Australia. I lived in a backpack house, so I made a lot of mates. And again, I'm still mates with a lot of them now. So we had met some really nice people, and we travelled around Australia together, and we just had a good time. And then the rest of the time I was around Southeast Asia, which I like. Still like Southeast Asia. Yeah, so Southeast Asia and Australia I went to. And like I said, lived in a backpacker house. So yeah, so you just meet people, don't you? And I've always been quite sociable, so I'm quite good at meeting people.
Yeah.
But I was scared. I was scared going. I remember crying, getting on the plane, and proper psyching myself up, going, if I don't like it, I can come home. If I don't like it, I come home. And I didn't want to come home, obviously. I ended up loving it. But it's like, just go. You'll be all right. If you don't like it, you can come home. You've got a return ticket. If you don't like it, come home. And psyching yourself up. But I ended up loving it.
Did you go on your own?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow. I really wish I could have done something like that, but I decided just to get a job. So I got a job when I was 20, and then that was it. I do feel now, looking back, I would have loved to have travelled.
Yeah, I'm glad I've done it. I think it put me back in terms of my career. And then I was late buying a house. All my mates were getting houses and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't do any of that because I didn't have the money. But I'm glad I did it because, yeah. But I know that's all that I was nervous and scared because I was going on my own. But like I say, I just remember, if you don't like it, you can come home. You don't psych yourself up. It doesn't matter. If you don't like it, you can come home.
Yeah. There's pros and cons to everything, isn't there? I mean, you look at, okay, you didn't get on the property ladder, but look at the life experience you've got.
I know.
That's second to none. You can't buy that. You can obviously buy a house. You can buy a house anytime, but you can't buy that experience.
Just like, you come back and think, oh, everyone's moved on, but you haven't. But I had a blast. I loved it, and I'm glad. No, I'm totally glad I did it. And Jacob, I've got he's what is he? 20 months now. He likes watching trains, and we've put YouTubes on, and it was Amtrak, and there's these Amtrak trains, just trains driving. I was like, oh, I travelled around on Amtrak. I used to sleep on Amtrak trains. I'm just trying to remember, just reminiscing. But this is after camp. So after camp, I travelled with one of my mates that I met on camp. We did an Amtrak around the East Coast, and just like, I'm just remembering that, and it's like, I've forgotten about that time. So yeah, no, you definitely can't put it. I definitely recommend that for people. And again, I was late having kids and stuff, but
speaking about your children, how would you feel if they wanted to go traveling?
Well, I do think about it now, because obviously my mum must have been terrified of me just going off to Australia on my own. How old would I have been? 22, or something like that. Whatever I was, 23 or 4. I don't know how old I was, but anyhow, but she just let me. So I would have to just be upset and let them go. But I would encourage it. I would want them to do something.
Yeah.
I would want them to do something, but it's up to every individuals, isn't it? People want different things. I always wanted to travel. We didn't have money when I was a kid. We never went on holiday. We never went abroad. I never went abroad with my dad. My dad's dead now, but I never did anything like that. I never went abroad. That was kind of like my dream. I wanted to go to nice beaches, because you'd see things on telly and other people be going on holidays. I'd never been on a plane, and then it was kind of like, right, I wanted to travel. It was one thing I wanted to do.
Yeah.
From a young age. I didn't know what I wanted to do for my career, but I wanted to see a bit of the world.
What do you mean you want nice beaches? We've got Blackpool.
Have you seen Southport now?
Whenever I go to Southport Beach, I don't think the sea's ever in. It just looks like sand that goes on forever.
Yeah, you've got to walk quite a long way. If we're talking beach of a week, and the sea is just sand. It's only sand turns up, I think. But it's muddy, and she was just loving it. It's just like, oh.
Okay, so you come back from your travels. What do you do next?
I joined the police as a researcher.
How did that happen?
I just applied for a job. I was just looking for a job, just applied for a job. It was what was it advertised? It was a research. I can't remember what my actual title was, but some sort of research role. Merseyside Police in Highton, I was based, Highton Police Station. And again, I enjoyed it. I met met some nice people, enjoyed it. It's a good experience, but I don't miss it. No. Oh no, actually, I don't think I did. Did I work there straight away? Oh no, yeah, I did. When I came back from travelling, that's my first job, was at the police, because I'd worked in academia before I'd gone travelling. Then I wanted to go travelling, and then because with research jobs in academia, they're fixed term often. So I do kind of like, I worked at Bolton actually. One of my first research jobs was at Bolton. I was a marketing information officer in 1999.
Really?
Yeah. So that's strange to say that I'm back. Yeah. It was only 6 months. Somebody was on maternity, and it was a 6-month position. So I did a lot of those kind of like short-term positions. Then went travelling because I'd saved up and I'd just got fed up of short-term positions, and cool. I don't even know what made me decide to go, but I did end up going. Put the courage to go. And then I came back and I got a permanent job at Merseyside Police as a researcher. And I left Merseyside Police after a couple of years. I think it was 3 years, because I realised it wasn't the kind of research I wanted to do. I preferred academic research. But when I was doing academic research, I thought, I need to see a bit more about research. So I got this job at Merseyside Police, and it was a permanent job. That's kind of what I wanted at that stage. But then I realised when I was in the police that I wanted to go back into academia, and I saw a job advertised at the University of Liverpool, a 1-year fixed-term contract, but it was called Breaking Barriers in the Workplace. It was in the clinical psychology department, and it was looking at gender segregation in the workplace. And I just thought, that is my perfect job. So it was a year contract. So I left the police and went to work as a research assistant at the University of Liverpool, which was a really good decision. So it's worth taking risks if you can. This is a little message for everybody, because that 1-year position turned into 2 or 3 year position, and then I got funded to do my PhD
at the University of Liverpool.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's how I ended up doing my PhD, because the supervisor, my employer, whatever Jan was, the clinical psychologist I worked for, saw something in me and funded me to do a PhD.
Wow.
So if I hadn't taken that step,
you wouldn't have done it.
I wouldn't have done it, because I wouldn't have had the opportunity. So again, I was lucky. I didn't have to pay for my PhD. So the only studies I've paid for about 1 year of masters.
Oh,
and
you're just trying to make me jealous.
So I got a fully funded PhD.
I feel like my Wi-Fi needs to switch off. I might have a problem. What was your PhD?
You've got to take risks in life. I know it's hard, but you do have to take risks, because like I said, but I was in a position. I didn't have kids. I didn't have a house. I still lived at home. Did I still live at home? No, I think I had a flat. No, I had a flat, but I could have gone back home. Do you know what I mean? I did have a home plate, but it was rented. I could move back home. I had choices that if after the year at Liverpool, nothing had come up, I could have always just gone back home. So my home has always been my safety net.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. I've moved away and come back and done stuff and come back, but I've always had that kind of safety net. So I was in a good position that was a safety net. I could leave a full-time permanent job and take the risk. And it worked out well for me, because it got extended. The research got extended for another couple of years. And then, like I say, Jan paid for me to do a PhD.
What was your PhD in?
It was in a similar area, because it had to be, because it was the funding that she got. She got an ESR funded bid for quite a lot of money, a couple of million, and the PhD was paid through that money. So my PhD, I'm trying to look for it. It was, basically, I wanted to look at. My friend worked in the computer games industry. A friend from university. She works in the computer games industry, and I just thought it was a really interesting new industry at the time. It's not something now, but it was a new industry, and it was male dominated. So I was looking at women's positions within being male dominated environment. So it was kind of like health. I was in the clinical psychology department, but it was health and kind of occupational psychology kind of theory that I was using within my degree. But I was looking at women in the computer games industry.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be the sort of the current topics, doesn't it? But this was then, which I don't think we really talked about.
So not how long ago. I finished it was 2008, I think I started my PhD. January 2008. I did it January, because I think it's January 2008 I started.
So that's like 13 years ago. And I just feel society, we've moved on so much just in the last few years when it comes to these conversations. It was just kind of accepted, because 2008 I was in the police, so I think about my time in the police, and it was just kind of we all had our positions, and that was how it was. The men were bosses and the women just weren't.
Yeah, that's not good, is it?
No. Yeah. What did you find then? What was your big finding?
I don't know. I can't remember. I honestly can't remember. I don't even know what the proper title is now. But basically, because the breaking barriers stuff was looking at STEM, basically the STEM sector. So I knew people in, like I say, I had a friend in the computer games industry, and I was like, wow, you're working in this amazing new industry, and it's male dominated. And I was interested in the fact that men are designing this technology with male ideas, and not kind of encouraging women. And so just basically around, I can't remember. I did a structural equation model. I remember doing that. Because again, I wanted to challenge myself on some quite complicated stats. But yeah, and I remember Jan wanted, her mate was Barbara Byrne, who wrote the book on structural equation modeling. And I remember she said, do you want her to be external? And I was like, no, I do not want the expert in structural equation modeling grilling me on structural equation modeling. I did what I had to do, and that's it. But no, I can't really remember, Lyndsey. Honestly, I can't really remember. It was
the trauma of doing a PhD. It's traumatic.
And I did this model, and that was it. And it was one of them. But with PhD as well, PhD motivation is key. You've just got to persevere. You're interested in it, but it does come to a stage where you're getting fed up of it because you're too absorbed in it. And like I say, and somebody advised me, I can't remember who it was now, but advised me to really blitz it in my first year, and I did, because the longer you're doing it, the more you kind of get a bit, I'm literally living and breathing this PhD. And I remember coming up to the end of my PhD, I got a part-time job at the University of Manchester just to get me out of the house, because I was living on my own. I'd bought a house by this time, and I was living on my own in Darwin, and I was doing my PhD from home. Basically, I would, Jan could, I could go in if I wanted, but I didn't have to. And I just did this part-time research work at the University of Manchester, just so I wasn't just focusing so much on this PhD that was starting to do me head in.
Yeah,
basically.
I mean, that's something that I've recurring theme from these interviews is that investment. You need to be interested in your subject area, and you really do need to be invested, don't you? Because it is a big chunk of your life.
Yeah, and you need Jan's main role for me as a supervisor was I'd ask for a meeting with her, and we'd often have a phone conversation where she'd gear me up and get me motivated again, because I'd have a lull and I'd come to a blank, and I'd be overthinking stuff, and so she'd get me back going, or I'd go in and have a meeting with her, and it would just invigorate me again and be like, right, I'm motivated again. I can crack on for a bit longer. But perseverance is definitely key. Perseverance is key in research, basically.
How did you end up at the University of Bolton then? How did you get?
So after my PhD, I got a job as a researcher at UCLan, and then I decided I was getting a bit fed up of, again, short-term contracts. I was still enjoying the research. I still do enjoy the research, but I was just getting a bit fed up with the short-term contracts and feeling like you're always applying for jobs and stuff. And I decided I wanted to go down the lecturing route. I wanted a new challenge. I'd done research for, I don't know, since about 1999 or something, after my master's, 98. I've been doing research for a long time, on and off, obviously a bit of time out in Australia, but and then a job was advertised here, and I applied, and yeah, I got a lectureship. So I got a permanent lecture job. So the University of Bolton is my first permanent lecture. I'd done a PhD. I'd been a PhD when I was in Liverpool doing my PhD. I'd also done a PhD job at Liverpool Hope. So I've done various PhDs, and as a university student, as a PhD student, I've done some teaching at Liverpool as well. So I've done some teaching at Liverpool Hope. I've done some teaching at the University of Liverpool. Yeah, and so I got a lecture job here in 2013.
Wow, coming up 10 years.
Yeah. What are we on? Yeah, not super bad. What is it? 8 years?
8 years, yeah.
So
where do you think you'll go from here when it comes to?
I don't know. Like I say, I've never really thought about it. I don't really think. I'm not a strategic thinker. I don't think that far ahead. I
think about here and now.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never known. It's not like I've never had a 5-year plan. It's just, I don't know, things just happen, I find. I think you just got to be open for opportunities. And when I look back on my career, like things have been like a bit of a stepping stone. Like I say, after my undergraduate degree, I was a care assistant, and that enabled me to go to camp and work on Camp Jeanette, even though I probably could have gotten any. But you know, I mean, working with people with cerebral palsy, and I just see it as a stepping stone. And then came back and did my masters, worked at the police. That wasn't so much a stepping stone really. But then I got that job at. I don't know. Sometimes you just feel like things are meant to be, don't you?
Yeah.
I don't know. So I've progressed quite nicely at Bolton. I've been given some nice opportunities. So I was lecturer for a bit, and then I was a program lead and got promoted as an SL, senior lecturer, and then I got promoted to reader in 2018.
So what does that mean? What does a reader mean?
Well, a reader is a good question. A reader, I'm supposed to do research. This is my understanding. A reader is research heavy, or should be research heavy. It's a weird one because it's not an automatic promotion, so not every SL will get become a reader. And I don't know whether it's kind of like maybe you're on track to be prof. I don't know really. Like it's a recognition. It's kind of a recognition of all your contribution to research, to the field of research. Because I like research and I like publishing.
What's your area of research now? Where do you focus?
My area of research is around how technology can support mental health, how technology can be used to support people, and particularly mental health. And again, so that's quite a distance from my PhD topic, but the PhD gave me that interest in the technology kind of angle, and I've kind of moved it over to student mental health and mental health generally, and just looking, especially now with the online environment. So for the last quite a few years, really, I've been interested in that, how we can use. So basically, I got this fed up with people basically just slating technology all the time and blaming technology for everything. It's kind of like, well, it's not going anywhere. You know, we're not all of a sudden just not going to be online. Let's kind of find ways to use it in a good way rather than just say, technology causing people to not speak, and technology is like causing people to have mental health problems. It's like, well, let's use it for good rather than just blaming technology. So that's kind of where I got interested in it. Let's see how it can support people, because there is benefits. There's lots of benefits, and it is individual difference as well, isn't it? It's kind of like, I work with Cooth and Terry Hanley at the University of Manchester, and young people like the online environment. They're brought up on the online environment, so they see a lot of benefits on seeking support online, which it's not suitable for everybody, but it's another option, isn't it? It's another avenue of support. So that's kind of where I came from with it. Kind of that's where my interest basically lies. And then obviously with technologies, games, I've still got a bit of an interest in games.
Yeah.
And again, how games can be used to engage people.
Yeah, and it almost all links, doesn't it? You think gaming and mental health and online, it's all technology kind of all together. So I think about my son who's 13 and his upbringing, even though the age difference between me and my boy and me and my mum is the same, but the generational gap couldn't be more different. How he is now and what he's got access to, I just can't relate to, whereas I could with my mum. And I just wonder how that's going to progress in the future. These things, these phones are just terrible, aren't they? Everything's on a phone. So, my son doesn't talk to people anymore. The message, it's like we don't have that conversation. Whereas I've taken a while to get used to Zoom contact, and I like it now. But I've always preferred face-to-face, whereas he loves just talking to people on a screen because that's kind of what he's used to.
Yeah. So it is. It's like they're used to it in a different way. Like you say, you're similar-ish, aren't you? I don't know how old you are actually.
My son?
No, you.
I'm 42 in a couple of weeks.
All right, we are similar-ish age. I'm 46 in a month. So, but so similar-ish. But yeah, again, it's like we weren't brought up with the internet. We weren't brought up with emails. But now it's the norm. So it's kind of like accepting that it's the norm and getting on with it and using it for seeing how we can use it in a good way rather than just kind of being old people that go, oh, kids don't talk to each other now. And, it's looking at it from that angle. And again, and there is benefits. Obviously, and especially with COVID, then obviously.
Oh, your camera's gone off.
Has it? I just. Can you see me now?
No, just your screen.
Can you see me now?
No.
Oh. Oh, it's gone off. Why did it go off? Maybe,
Oh, you're back.
So it said, anyhow. I've lost my train of thought. Anyhow, so it's just around that, isn't it? It's kind of like, it's not going anywhere. Let's make the most of it. And COVID's kind of helped with that, hasn't it? It's kind of made us use technology, and without it, we could,
Yeah, I think that's been the benefit. And of course, there's lots of negatives to COVID. There's lots of things that people have missed out on. And I was just talking to my friend whose, son didn't get to go on his, you're a week away when you're in primary school, you get to go on like an adventure week. So every age group, I think, has missed out on something. However, I think the benefits of COVID, it's shown us that we can do online learning. It's shown us how we can still communicate and research online. It's made us develop and made us think outside the box, hasn't it? How can we still get our work done the best way we possibly can do? And in some ways, I know we touched upon this at a lecture you gave recently around qualitative research. It's brilliant because it does automatically transcribe it for you. It might need a little bit of tweaking, but there's benefits. Instead of sitting there saying, oh no, we can't do this, and Zoom conversations are bad, it's actually okay.
Blended approach with everything. It's a blended approach, and it's there is individual differences, and like I've come into the office today. I wanted to come in. I could have done this at home. There's no difference. But it was nice to come in and see colleagues, and I've had a brew with colleagues this morning. It's nice. But I think it's hopefully what COVID has given people is the fact that we can think, like you say, think outside the box. We don't have to stick to traditional ways. We can use technology. Technology is there, and let's make the most of it, really. And
yeah, I agree. I think that's the way.
Down barriers. It breaks down a lot of barriers. I've had lots of conversations with academics, and some and counsellors that I know. Some people have opened up because they've because they're not anonymous, because it is you're still face to face in a way. It's just face to face over Zoom, but some people have found that young people have opened up because they are not sat in front of somebody directly, or they could switch the camera off, and you have got a bit more anonymity at sometimes, perhaps. But so it just different situations, isn't it? But it gives another option, basically, doesn't it? And it's accessible. That's the thing. It's accessible, isn't it? You don't have to travel anywhere. You don't have to arrange in quite the same detail. There's lots of benefits, and it does break down some barriers for a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. So I know that you've touched on that you have family now. You had children a little bit later on. How has having children impacted on your career and work and research?
Okay, well, when I had Phoebe when I was 41. That didn't seem to impact me so much, but since I had Jacob, I don't know if it's a COVID thing as well. And it's made me rethink, but they've become more of a focus for me. They're my main priority. My job is not my main priority. With Phoebe, it was kind of half and half. I was still very invested in my career and very determined. But now I have noticed a difference in me. I think it might be the COVID situation, to be honest, where I've kind of took a step back and realised that actually my kids and my family are more important, and they're my main focus now. So yeah, I don't know really, but because it is difficult. And I used to work long hours. When I was with Phoebe, I used to teach here on a Wednesday night till 8 o'clock, so I'd not see Phoebe from Tuesday night till Thursday night. And I sometimes look back on that, I think, how did I do that? I can't imagine doing that now. But I just did it because I love my job. I still do love my job, but I love my job, and I kind of just what you've got to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
You do still have to provide. So there is that element, but I have kind of thought, actually, they are my priority, and I do not. So a job I'm not quite as determined. I would sacrifice the research to see my kids, basically. Because obviously the research, my main job is the program lead and the lecturing, and then the research comes as an add-on now, really. So, but it's difficult. It is difficult. You do have to make sacrifices. Like I've been to conferences and not seen my kids for a few days, and I can't. I don't know. I think it is the COVID, and I've maybe spent too much time with them now, and I'm too used to seeing them. But I used to go away for conferences and not see them for a couple of, well, not see Phoebe for a couple of days. I haven't been away since I've had Jacob, and I just think, oh, I don't want to do that now. But maybe when I get back into it, I'll go back into, yeah. But it is hard not seeing them, especially in the babies. And I also think, because obviously with Phoebe was my first, and then Jacob. And you look at Phoebe now, and she's like 5 next on the 16th, and it goes so quick. So it could even be that. It's made me realise Jacob's not going to be little for long, and I don't want to miss out. Whereas I did miss out a lot on Phoebe, but I probably didn't realise it was going to go so quick. Whereas now I know it will go quick, and I do not want to miss out.
Yeah, it flies by.
It does fly by. It's like unbelievable. So that is probably what's happened. I've realised that you look at Phoebe and I'm still carrying an out there. Was Jacob, come here, the little baby.
Is that it anymore?
No, oh God, no more. 46. 46 in August. No more. They are great though. They are great. And I mean, it's hard. If we were younger, we'd have more. But then maybe we'll be saying that because we're not younger, because they're hard work as well, aren't they? Yeah. And it's hard work juggling everything. It is hard work juggling.
Yeah.
Because you want that quality time, and I still want to do my job. I'm still absorbed in my job. I love my job. But it's a time-consuming job as well.
Yeah, demanding.
It's a hard job. Not hard, but it's emotionally quite draining at times, and it's full on at times.
It's demanding, isn't it?
It's a very demanding job, and
got lots of people who want
demanding and all. But they're both great. It's both good. It's good that I like my job, and it's good that, it's nice. I've got a nice family as well. So
yeah,
but it is difficult getting that balance. I do have to admit, it's difficult to get that balance.
Do you think you've found it, or do you think you're still searching for it?
I don't know. The thing with this job is, though, it's peaks and troughs, isn't it? Like sometimes now it's the summertime, so it's easing down a bit. Although it doesn't feel like it's easing down loads, but it's easing down a little bit. So that's good. So you can that's another thing that keeps you going as well. It's kind of like you can not see your kids as much when it's full on, because then you'll know you can kind of get the time back, and you'll see them over the summer a bit more. And so it's just having that balance of accept. And I don't teach at night anymore, so I don't have to not see them for days.
Yeah.
Because that was hard. I didn't like that particularly, but I just did it.
I bet you feel like you've got lots of kids at the university.
Well, no, because that's the thing as well. I'm teaching. I would never want to teach kids. The noise in our house, blimey. Imagine having like 30. I mean, no, I wouldn't. It's good to have. And I love the students. I really love the students at Bolton. As a program lead, you just get to know people so well, and it's just nice. So it's a very rewarding job. I've got great colleagues and great students, and it is demanding at times, but like I say, I love it. I love it. It's just...
Looking back, is there anything you would change?
Not really. No. In terms of my whole career?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Because like I say, sometimes you just think it's meant to be, don't you? Like, things just kind of lead on to something else, and if you get another job, you just feel like, oh yeah, it's the right time to move. You feel like a change, and I do feel like you've got to keep challenging yourself. That's something that I need in my life, a new challenge. So I'm not somebody that will sit still for long, I don't think. Even if I'm enjoying it, it's still like, okay, I think it's time to change it, mix it up, have a new challenge.
Yeah.
Do something different for a bit. But no, I don't think I would. I'd probably try harder earlier on in the degree, but again, I enjoyed it, and it turns out all right in the end. So why change it?
Yeah, would it actually change?
Again, like you said, kids earlier, I would maybe have had kids early, but then maybe I wouldn't have done some of the other stuff that I did, and I enjoyed that and all. So maybe kids early, I would probably say.
Kids
Because having kids in your 40s, I remember when I was crawling around because with the babies, when they were babies, and my knees would be killing. I'm thinking if I was 20, my knees would not be killing like this. But no, I probably wouldn't change anything. What's the point?
Exactly. Live for the moment.
Yeah. But in terms of future career, no, I haven't got a future. Well, I've hopefully got a future career, but I haven't got any plan. Like I say, I've just never planned. I've just kind of never really sat down and thought, right, okay, just looking for opportunities, taking the occasional risk, and hoping for the best. And yeah, things I've touched wood tended to turn out all right.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Who knows where we're going to find you in another 2 years?
I know, you just don't know.
No, you
But
don't.
yeah, but like I say, there's no big grand plan. Just enjoy it. Just do it and enjoy it, and yeah, see what happens.
Good. Well, I think that's a really good place to end this.